All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this program focused on suppliers diversity. My name is Brigitte Beltran, and I'm the Associate Director for Client Solutions in the United States for Space Matrix. So welcome to this virtual panel, which is presented by both the CoreNet Connecticut and New England chapters. And before we start our program, we'd like to thank our sponsors first from both chapters and share some upcoming events with you. So if you could please just, show us some of the slides. So thank you very much to our corporate sponsors. We could not do it without you, and we're very thankful. So our platinum sponsors, our gold sponsors for New England, and silver sponsors. And as far as events in New England, we are going to have a few upcoming, as you can see here on the screen. On May 5th, we will have Understanding Bordeaux. On June 5 and 6 is the ERS, which is the Eastern Regional Symposium, which will take place in Washington, D.C. This is an East Coast tri-chapter event. So we look forward to seeing you all from wherever you are on the East Coast. On May 16, we will have a program in New England focused on the evolving role of change management, present at Environments at Work. This is an in-person event. And on October the 5th, just save the date for the annual charitable golf tournament. As for the Connecticut chapter, thank you to our platinum sponsors, our gold and bronze sponsors, and for the upcoming events in the Connecticut chapter, we have a few here. The first one on May 25th, a corporate real estate success story using incentive programs to drive energy efficiency. Obviously, the Connecticut chapter will also participate to the ERS with us. And then on June 15, there will be a program on Charter Communications headquarters and the annual golf tournament for the Connecticut chapter, which will take place on August the 14th in New Haven Country Club. So now that we have gone through all this event, back to this event, and before I introduce our speakers, I would like to share with you the event format, because our goal here is not only to educate you as our audience, but also to make this time together interactive with some takeaways and action for all of us to take towards diversity and inclusion. We will start with a 40 minutes Q&A to our speakers here and discuss program successes and challenges. It will then be followed by a 15-minute breakout moderated sessions that will be moderated by our speakers. We will regroup afterwards to share our findings for about 20 minutes. So I will just now let our speakers introduce themselves. They can do it way better than I can, but I will just give their names to you very briefly. So the first speaker is Gladimar Pardiale from Thermo Fisher, and she's in charge of supplier diversity. She's supplier diversity manager. From Sanofi, we do have Raki Agarwal here, who is also joined today by our colleague, who will introduce herself, by Semab, who will introduce herself. And then we do have also Mildred Tolentino from M2 Pros, who is the founder and CEO of her company, and will tell you about her company focused on suppliers diversity. So ladies, if you could please start with introducing yourself. Gladimar, please go ahead.
Thank you, Bridget. My name is Gladimar Pardiale, and I'm the Supply Diversity Manager for Thermo Fisher Scientific. I'm also the global leader for the OLA BRG Business Resource Group, which is our Hispanic Latino business resource group. So I'm the global leader managing about 13 chapters all around the world. I've been doing supply diversity for about 15, 16 years now. And thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you, Gladimar. All right, Raki, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Raki Agarwal. I'm Global Head of Supply Diversity at Sanofi. I've been at Sanofi for about a year now, but in the industry in sourcing and procurement healthcare space for about 23 years. In my past, I've worked with companies like Bristol Myers Squibb, Merck, Johnson & Johnson, and now here at Sanofi. My goal at Sanofi is to make sure that our procurement spend, out of our procurement spend, about 1.5 billion euros is spent with small and diverse businesses globally across the enterprise. And I have a great team of 3 passionate committed individuals, team members, one of whom is here, Seema Malik. She'll be assisting me today in this presentation as I have a conflict towards the end of the event, which she will then take over. So thank you, Seema, for being here. And I'm very happy and excited to be here and share with you about supplier diversity, about Sanofi, and everything else that I can add value to. So with that, I hand you over to Seema.
You're on mute, Seema.
Thank you so much, Raki. Thank you, Bridget. I was on mute. Seema Malik, Global Supply Diversity Manager at Sanofi. I am responsible for the program and strategy for Canada, UK and Ireland, and Europe. I come from a corporate law background. I discovered supply diversity several years ago and pivoted into this space and joined Sanofi. I'm into my 5th month now, and I'm very excited to be here to join you on the webinar today.
Thank you. Thank you, Seema. All right, Mildred.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm very, very excited for this panel. My name is Mildred Tolentino. I'm the founder and CEO of M2 Pros. We are a construction project management firm based in New York, and we are also doing work in New Jersey and Texas. My background, I'm an architect by background, and I work for the large corporations like CBRE and JLL in the past in the project management team. And 8 years ago, I started my company, M2 Pros, which is Mildred Tolentino Project Services. And our mission and focus is to provide project management, but at the same time, our main mission is to empower women in the construction industry and to also hire people of color into our company and provide them with an opportunity.
Thank you, Mildred. All right, wonderful. So I'd like to maybe start with our first question to the speakers here. And can you speak about your suppliers' diversity's internal policies and how they have been implemented to execution?
Sure, I can take it from here, Bridget. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Thermo Fisher first, because you need to understand our structure before, so you can decide which way you're going to go. So Thermo Fisher, it's a big company, 140,000 employees, global company, and we are mostly biotech. We do instruments, you name it. However, we do have a sister company, and you probably hear it all the time, is Fisher Scientific. Most of the colleges, university, hospitals, schools will buy through them because they are our distribution arm, right? So they distribute not only our products, but everybody's products. So some of your products may be distributed through our, some of my panelists' products may be distributed through our company, our sister company. So we have 2 separate programs. For the Thermo Fisher part, which is the one that I manage, our program is fairly new. It's about 3.5 years old. And we have a policy of inclusion for all sourcing events, meaning that our policy reads that for every single sourcing event, including RFP, quotes, we must include certified minority-owned business, woman-owned business, diverse business in general, or small business. And I'll talk a little bit about the small business because our program includes small business. The main reason is that not only we have a supplier diversity program, we have to have a small business program. The federal government is one of our customers and require us to have a relationship with small business registered through the Small Business Administration, or if it's a woman, to be certified as woman small business, Hub Zone, 88, et cetera, et cetera. So we have an obligation not only to do supplier diversity as something that we do voluntarily, but we also have an obligation to spend money with small businesses and make them part of our network. With that, I'm going to talk a little bit about Fisher Scientific, our distribution arm of the company. They have a straight out small business program. And the reason they have that is because, again, the customers have contracts with the federal government. We have contracts with the federal government. So what they do is provide choices to help companies achieve those goals. So you see there's kind of a partnership with Thermo Fisher and Fisher Scientific because we're the same company. We're just kind of a sister company that at one point in time, we don't share some of the information only because they not only distribute our products for our competitors. So there's a ethical line that we need to kind of walk really tight, but that's our program. We have a portal. I'm going to drop off all that information for both of the programs. Fisher Scientific is mostly, you're going to sell your products. If you're a manufacturer, you want to look at that. If you say you have an office supply, that you want to distribute things to us, that may be the best opportunity for you. With Thermo Fisher, we have big contracts that are the indirect contracts that kind of cover the entire globe. So you may need a different kind of scale that if you are in our directs, if you're selling us direct products to make our own products, right, that goes into the development of our own products, you may be a small business because you have a very niche opportunity of product or service that we need to develop those products. But in overall, what you need to do understand is that we have both. We have a supplier diversity program, which includes all diverse classification, including LGBTQ, which is the latest one. And we also have a small business program because we have federal obligations. So you have different ways to engage with us. I'm going to stop right now because I'm pretty sure Sanofi and Mildred have tons of things to say, but I just wanted to give you like a really large overview of what we do and how we do it.
Thank you, Gladima. Raki, would you like to share your programs and your...
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So similar to Thermo Fisher, right? We are a large corporation as well. We are one of the top 5 healthcare companies globally, and our mission is to chase miracle of sciences to make the patient's life better, right? And that's a very, very important task, and we take it very seriously. And along with that, we want to make sure that our supply chain that supports our mission is also, mirroring the communities that we serve in. So what that means is we are very inclusive and intentional about creating a supply diversity into our supply chain and weaving it in. So we have created policies and procedures in our procurement community to make sure that supply diversity is ingrained in how we work and how we source. So we have updated our policies, our procedures, and also like every RFP and bid opportunity that goes out of the door, it is required by our policy to make sure that every buyer invites at least one of the diverse supplier or a small business into the RFP bid opportunity. And it's done automatically through our system where they can select suppliers that are already in our system or look through the potential pool of suppliers that we have through our registration portal. So we also do track the metrics in terms of how many RFPs went out of the door, what's our spend globally. We slice and dice it in different way to make sure that we are tracking of how we are moving the needle and assess the gaps that we in the different categories that we don't have diverse spend. And then we have deep dive sessions and campaigns that we run to make sure that we are able to close those gaps. So absolutely, policies and procedures are a must, and it's kind of weaved into our DNA of how we source to kind of create an impact.
Thank you, Raki. Mildred.
Yes, so we are a small company. We are approximately 20 employees, and since we started the company. So one of the things that I'm doing, and something that is so true about diversity attracts diversity, and why we need to also empower our companies to have more women and more minorities in the C-suite is because you attract those people. So in our company, and it's funny because a lot of corporations that do similar things that we do are calling me to ask me, Mildred, how are you getting all these project managers that are people of color? How come you have all these women working with you? Because we are not attracting the same pool of professionals. And it is true that we have been attracting that type of professional. We are 50-50 right now, women and men, and we are approximately 90% people of color in my company. And it just happened organically and it's just happening because probably we're attracting the same type of people and vice versa, or I'm giving an opportunity because we are just open to, like if you're an immigrant and you didn't have the experience in the United States, okay, we'll take you. We might even sponsor your visa or your documents, etc. So it's just being open-minded of these other type of pool of professionals that are out there that can serve us as well. And I think that that culture has remained in my company, and I think it's a great thing to do. I think it's also searching in those areas where maybe some other packets of population are. So I'm very involved with the Latino community and a lot of Latino organizations. So, by default, I meet a lot of Latinos. So I think that our companies need to go and reach out to all these different communities in order to bring that employment or diverse workforce.
Thank you very much, Mildred. So to go back to our panelists, I mean, we're all panelists, but to go back to the larger firms and the Sanofi and the Thermo Fisher, wanted to ask, what have you been your typical challenges with diverse and small firms, and what do you recommend when hiring them?
I think putting kind of a blanket statement is kind of dangerous, but if we have a really big company, big contracts that are global, and you're a small business, you probably don't have the bandwidth to deal with a contract our size. You're probably not qualified. We'll look at DMB. We'll look at SC. What is your customers? We're gonna look if you have experience in the biotech, and that depends also on the product that we're trying to source. I think the challenge is navigate is the same challenge that even the employees of a company this size have, right? It's navigating the organization, which, a procurement organization, category leaders, division partners, et cetera, go amount to 900 to 1,000 people. So just navigating that is a challenge. That's why we have tools for you to register. People say, I don't register, I don't want to go through the motions. I said, well, if you don't go through the motions, we cannot pair you up with a category, because our tool has that kind of technology that we can look, okay, this is your category. We can actually share that internally through our tool. So if you're not in our system, we never know that you exist. Let's start with that. For smaller firms, there's always an opportunity for niche kind of a product or services. Remember what we do is, we do so many things, so many tools, so many instruments and things to help our customers kind of provide a cleaner, safer, and a healthier environment. So we are always looking for innovation. And I don't know if you ever track our the Thermo Fisher, like the investments and everything. So take a look at that. It gives you like a really good idea what we're looking at in partnering with others, right? We look always for innovation, things that complement our services so we don't have, et cetera, et cetera. For Thermo Fisher, for Fisher Scientific, they have an even faster way to kind of match you up or say yeah or nay, right? Because the nature of what they do is more like, your SKUs and things like that. So they're able to determine whether it's a customer needs it, negotiate with you. So that's what I always say. I say, and I'm going to tell this to everybody in this call, is that when you're a business owner, you need to understand what is going to be your role in the procurement process. do you have the capacity to be a prime or preferred supplier? Would that be beneficial for you? Would that give you more strain? Would you need to hire more people? Those are decisions you have to make, right? Or can you be a subcontractor? Is that a more comfortable position for you to be while you grow, and you can be a subcontract to many of our, tier one customers, et cetera, et cetera. So I always put it back into the business. We can be complicated, and but once you have a contract with us, we pay. You know what I mean? It's a good thing to do, and we try to foster relationships and work. We truly, the way I see our category leaders, they really want the success of their suppliers because we want to have a good relationship, right? So for us, just finding that right partner is the icing on the cake. And if you are a minority woman, it just helps us meet not only our obligation, it helps us help our community. We're always good for that. So as far as, what do we do? So we do have internal goals. Every year we try to reach out a higher goal. So last year was $1.3 billion with small and diverse supplier. We reached that. So this year our challenge is even bigger. And just keep in mind, kind of COVID is winding down. So a lot of things we need to analyze the data all over again. So we're always analyzing where are the opportunities, where are the things that we're doing that can stop a good relationship and things like that. So we're always assessing, but just understand that these building relationships, that it could take time to do business with us, because first you need to build that relationship, then there has to be some kind of opportunity, right, that comes down the pipeline. Contracts are 3-5 years. In the indirect space, in the direct space can be longer than that, because you cannot change suppliers just like that when you're making a product, right? Because of quality control, the FDA, and all those regulatory forces. So all I'm saying is like, network, build relationships, and relationships. Not like, okay, you're gonna buy from me today. Not gonna happen. And make sure you register into our portals. That way we know that you're interested in doing business with us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gladima. Raki, what is your view on this? And it was a lot that you covered, but it's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much on the similar lines, right? So the first and most important thing is sharing your intent, right? And the intent comes by registering on a portal. And that's true for pretty much everyone. But most of the times what I've seen is small and diverse businesses, they do not understand the value of going and registering on the portal. Because if you don't do that, you're missing out on the opportunity that my buyer, who doesn't really have time to go look out for diverse suppliers, but is making an effort. And when they are looking in the pool, in the portal, and they don't see you, that's your missed opportunity. It can never come back. Relationships are great. And, you can attend as many events as you want, as many webinars, build relationship with the supplier diversity people like me, Seema, and other folks, but we can only do so much. What we can do is we can be the bridge and create your connection to the categories, to the buyers who actually have the opportunities and the spend, right? We don't influence or manage or lead that spend, right? So that's the disconnect. And that's a very important piece to understand, that just because we met and made connection doesn't mean you'll get the PO the next day. It doesn't work like that, right? So that frustration is very common, more than I would like to see in small and diverse businesses, because they're like, oh, I met the supplier diversity person, or I met the buyer now. I am, how can we start the business? How quickly can we get going? Everything takes time, especially in the pharma healthcare industry, where there are tons of regulations that we have to qualify a supplier. And even now with ESG and like CyberVadis, EcoVadis, and all the other HSE quality rules and regulations that we have to qualify a supplier before we get them on board, just the whole qualification process takes about 6 to 8 months. And then even set up in the vendor master data data. Every company has a different setup from system perspective, which itself takes 2 to 3 months, right? So it's a long process. And for that, before that, you have to match up with the opportunity, right? So a lot needs to go in. And all I would say is making sure that you are registered with that company and you put your name forward, and then building that relationship to make sure that you're patiently waiting for your time to come. And if you're patient with and while you're patient, capability ramp up, that hey, in case you get the PO, are you even able to deliver the service, the product that you have promised or put forward, right? Because there are many times I've seen suppliers that we really have great engagement, we get going, roaring, and we put them in front of the right senior leadership. And the moment we start discussing business, they back out because they're like, oh, I cannot do that, or I'm not capable to ramp up to that amount or quantity of the product and services, right? So you really have to have a business plan. You have to know your ramp up capability, and you have to have a backup plan. I'm not saying go set up a plan with millions of dollars tomorrow, but at least have a plan that you could put forward in case that opportunity knocks your door, right? So you have to be ready with plan A, plan B, plan C, and be patient with it, right?
So that seems like a lot of constraints for small business owners, right? We're speaking about 6 to 8 months for registration, and then ramping up capabilities. So we invited Mildred to join us here because she's a small business owner, right? And she's a minority business owner. So Mildred, what are your challenges when working with large corporations, right? Or obtaining work in general? Do you struggle with those timelines for registration? Do you struggle with the ramp up of your capabilities? How do you feel about all this?
Sure, I agree with Raiki and Gladimar. You have to be patient, and I think that it's true that a lot of small businesses, they wanted to get a project or a contract right now because they might not have enough in the pipeline, and they feel like, oh, this company is going to give me a contract and that's going to be my saver. But you have to be patient. You have to build those relationships. And I totally agree with that. And also, I feel that a lot of small businesses, one of the downfalls that they have is that the owner of the business typically tend to do everything and work in their business instead of having someone to help them out. I know like sometimes money is tight, but even if you hire someone that is a college student or something at the beginning, to just hire them to do some of the paperwork and keep you engaging with the client and not working only on the projects, but just looking at the big picture. In terms of the challenges that I see in general with the big corporations, sometimes it's all that red tape, right, that you have to go through. So you have to be prepared for that. And it's not as easy because you are an MWBE doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a business. And I think that that's something that, a lot of small businesses sometimes at the beginning just face that reality. The other thing is that insurance, there is a cost, a high cost sometimes that you encounter with working with the large corporations on the insurance, very high levels of insurance. So that is costly to a small business that might not have the capacity to provide that. Sometimes also, I feel that, when you're a small business, you get, it's like the lights are shine and you want to work for that big corporation, but perhaps you are not ready to work for such a big corporation that, has all these requirements, because, your company is too small and I'm not going to be able to give them the right insurance. But something that I have seen that large corporations are doing in a successful way that I have worked with in the past and currently my clients is that they have created programs for small businesses. So those insurance requirements might get lower. The scope of work of the project or the contract might be a little bit smaller than what you typically put out to a large corporation. So you can test the waters with that small business. And that's probably like the most organic and natural way to go about it, because you give them, maybe it's a 50,000, 100,000, or, depending on the size of the business, of $500,000 contract that company can really handle and do well. And then you grow that company little by little by giving them, next you give them 150, and next you give them 300. But at the same time, they're going to start scaling up their business and hiring more people to support the business. So I think that those programs are really helpful when they're intentional. I think that big corporations need to be intentional about that, because there are a lot of challenges that go in the background for small businesses.
Yeah, and I think similar to that, to what you said, Mildred, also asking, right? So you have to ask your partners or your account representations at the large corporations. Companies have really nice financing programs available as well. But if you don't ask, you don't get those information, right? So we are working with Citi to create a financing program, a bridge, it's called Bridge, where depending on what product and services or what kind of commitment you have with corporation, there are certain banks and financial institutions that will extend support and financial support to you, or loans, or whatever kind of financing you need, they would extend that to you. So we're trying to build that relationship right now. It's not launched for us, but other corporations that I know, like Walmart and others, they have worked with Citi Bridge program. Then there is also in terms of payment terms, right? So when for small and diverse businesses, intentionally, we have made sure that we have lower payment terms than our standard regular payment terms of, like, say, 120 days or 90 days. We are willing to work with small and diverse businesses where the payment terms are 30 days or 60 days, depending on the country that you're in. So those kind of working capital issues are addressed, and there are programs in place. So feel free to ask about them and see how they can benefit you.
And I'm so glad, Rocky, that you said that, because that was another, I forgot to mention that I'm working with another large corporation that they have a program that is a 10-day payment. You get a cut on the payment, like a 2% or something like that, but you get your money right away. And that cash is fantastic, because then you can, pay your employees and do whatever you have to do. And that will help, to solidify that company as well.
And we actually have an immediate payment term program as well in certain, at least in US and few other countries, through Candex, which is our supply chain financing program. And that's fabulous for our tail spend management. And that's like, and the onboarding through that Candex program is like less than a week. You get onboarded, you get your PO, you invoice, and you get immediately paid, right? How amazing is that? Yeah. So that's one of the programs that we are running at Sanofi.
Wonderful. Vladimir, do you have something similar at Thermo Fisher?
We do have, and it's in the case by case. I cannot make an open statement like that, but yes, we do have certain terms that for small businesses, our normal term is 90 days. So but like Rocky said, you need to ask for it, right? It's not that we're going to offer it to you. Because most of the time the people doing this, they don't know that you're a small business, right? It's just like, you need to have that kind of relationship. And during COVID, we did some creative things with suppliers that were strong partners with us, whether it was helping them store, warehousing, things like that. So we did a lot of creative stuff. But what I wanted to actually talk a little bit about is something that I'm sitting under global sustainability, right? Supply chain sustainability, et cetera, et cetera. So my entire team works in the ESG field, right? In the sustainability, not only, the procurement, what we buy, but also, recommendations around the planet of things that we should be doing. And, just recently we had a release that, we partner for windmills and solar panels here in Massachusetts. The Franklin site has the coolest parking lot with like the solar panel thing. What I'm saying all this stuff is because sustainability is something important for us.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're doing EcoVadis, but what I want to backtrack is that all large corporations are jumping into this bandwagon, and it's great. But I think small business are probably the one that could benefit the most out of this, because when we got hit with the COVID and, you know, the supply chain, our strongest partners were actually small business, because they were able to switch the way to do business just to kind of help us support our products. But also, what we've been finding out through our programs of EcoVadis and stuff like that is that small business are looking into these tools to make themselves different from larger businesses. So find opportunities, like maybe even your customers may have programs, like we have programs for our own suppliers, because we want to help them, you know, meet their goals so we can meet our goals. So we do education around it, about, you know, even we use EcoVadis to say, okay, this is your grade, it's fine. What are the things we can do to get you to the next level? And we work with them on that term. So we help our suppliers in many different ways. We're always thinking about, you know, what is the latest. And for me, now that we are doing mentorship, we partner with a couple of NGOs. You probably know all of them: NMSCC, WeBank, Disability, Chamber, the LGTB Chamber of Commerce, Diversity Alliance for Science. We partner with all of these people and provide mentorship to their constituents. And one of the things that we find is that most of our mentees really want to learn more about sustainability, so they can use it as a marketing tool. And it works. Trust me, it works.
Thank you. Thank you, Gladima. All right, so now we are at this time of the program where we would like to break out into breakout rooms. The idea here is that you have learned, you know, for the last 40 minutes about basically the suppliers diversity and how. Now let's think a little bit. Let's try to brainstorm all together on how we can come up with actionable items to make it better for all of us. So that being said, we're going to break out into different rooms, and CoreNet is going to split us, so just be patient. But you're going to have a moderator who is one of the speakers in your room, and then we will ask one specific question for about 15 minutes brainstorming. We will all come back and regroup. We will have one spokesperson and one scribe. So the spokesperson will come back. When we come back all together, the spokesperson will report for the team. Thank you very much, and have fun. Enjoy. All right, ladies from CoreNet.